I'm Sharon Bill. Welcome to my Music Theory Tuition series where I work with you step by step through the ABRSM Discovering Music Theory grades. I'll work through every single exercise and explain everything you need to know. You can access information about the books I have available to help you on my website. Go to sharonbill.com. For advert-free and longer lessons, you can become a patron at patreon.com/SharonBill. If you can give me a like, that would be super, and please do subscribe to my channel to stay updated. You can support this channel by buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/SharonBill. Well, congratulations. We're now on the practice exam paper of the Grade 1 Discovering Music Theory workbook, Grade 1 practice exam paper. That means we've covered every single topic in the Grade 1 syllabus, and we've done some revision exercises to help refresh our memory a little bit. My suggestion to you would be to try and work through some of these exercises on your own at first, and then pop into the video to mark what you've done or to check through where you're unsure, but do try some on your own first of all. It's always better to learn by your mistakes, work in pencil, and then it doesn't matter if you go wrong, you can just cross it out and have another go. And so we're going to move on to page 56, the first topic of which is rhythm. So we're going to look at this section 1 of the exam paper, which is all things rhythm. And let's work through this together. So we've been told to circle the correct time signature for each of these bars. Each of these bars is going to be counting so many crotchet beats per bar. This bottom number 4 represents crotchet beats, and if I just use this as a bit of an opportunity for revision, I'll just explain why that is. The semibreve, as we call it, can also be referred to as the whole note, and in fractions that would be a 1, wouldn't it, a whole. And so if we divide that into 2, because 2 minims, a semibreve is 4 beats, a minim is 2, so 2 plus 2 is 4. We've divided into halves. If we divide again, we've got 1 beat notes, because 1 plus 1 is a 2 beat note, and 2 plus 2 is 4. We've divided now into quarters, so that would be called a whole note. These can be called half notes, and crotchets can also be called quarter notes. They're 1 beat each when we're counting with the bottom number 4 showing as we've divided into quarters. That's why the bottom number 4 means we're counting in crotchet beats. And so we need to figure out how many beats per bar. Now don't get sidetracked by just trying to choose an option quickly. Do the working out and figure it, and then you can select the correct answer, being thoroughly sure that you've got the correct answer. Don't let multiple choice throw you, because it's so easy to just circle the wrong one and not properly think it through. So let's break down the maths. So here we have a 1 beat. Here we have a quaver and a quaver. A half plus a half is 1. And we know that because they're beamed together to show each crotchet beat. And here we have a 3/4 and a quarter. But let's just work this out. Let's use this as an opportunity for some revision. So there's our 1 beat, and we'll divide it into halves, quarters. So we have a quaver outside of the dot is half of a beat. And then the dot is half as much again, so half of a half is a quarter. And so we know that the dotted quaver is 3/4 of a beat, and that leaves us just 1/4 of a beat left, which is our semi-quaver, and we can see that all together that makes 1 beat. So we have 1, 2, 3 crotchet beats per bar, and so we can go ahead and circle that 3/4, being thoroughly sure that that's the correct answer. Let's look at this next one. So a half plus a half is 1, so there's 1 beat. And then we know, if we just diagram this out, here's a crotchet beat which divides into 2 quavers. 1 beat, half plus a half is 1, and that divides again into 4 semiquavers. And so we know that 4 semiquavers, 4 quarters equals 1 whole. And so we know that there's 1 beat. And we know that as well because they're all beamed together to show 1 crotchet beat. So we have 2 crotchet beats in that bar. Let's look at this next bar. So we have a crotchet beat here. A half plus a half is a crotchet beat. Now outside of the dot, we know that that there is 1 crotchet. That's worth 1 beat. Half as much again, a dot means half as much again, so the dot in this case is worth half a beat because half of 1 is a half. A quaver is worth half of a beat, so the dot and the quaver, a half plus a half, gives us a beat. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 crotchet beats. So there's our answer. Let's press on to section 2. Now we have some extracts. All of the beats are present, but the bar lines need to be added to show the division of these time signatures. So we've got to count 3 crotchet beats per bar and add a bar line. There's 1 bar line missing in each of these examples. So we need to find each crotchet beat. So there's 1 crotchet beat. And we've already done the maths for this, that's 1 beat. And so the dot after that is half as much again, which is half a beat. And there's half of a beat. So the dot and the quaver give us a beat. And then there's a beat. So 1, 2, 3, there's our bar line. And we can double check we're correct because there should now be 3 beats. 1, 2, half plus a half is 1, 3. If you get quite stuck, what you can do is you can work backwards and think, well, there's 1 beat, there's 1 beat, there's 1 beat, there's the bar line. And so if you're working backwards, you can double check if you get a little bit confused in this bar here. Now we need to show 4 crochet beats. Well, a minim is worth 2. And then we have a crochet here. Now don't forget, we must still include the rests. It's still taking up time in the bar, and that is a crochet beat rest. That's a 1 beat rest. So 2, 3, 4, there's our bar line. And again, if you get a little bit stuck and you think, oh, I can't remember how many beats that's worth, what you can do is work from the back and double check, because there should be 4 in this bar also. So we have 2 beats here, 1 beat here, and a half plus a half is 1. So we know there's our 4 beats. So you can work backwards if you get stuck. If you've got a full bar line or a double bar line at the end, you know this bar should also be complete. So use that to help you as well. Let's press on. So we have to have 2 beats in a bar now. And the easy way to do it would be to go, well, there's beat 1, half plus a half is 2. There is our second beat, 1, 2. So therefore this should be 2. And just visually we can see it's beamed, beat 1, beat 2. However, let's be extra sure and use this as an opportunity for revision. And let's just work out that this is indeed 2 beats. So we have a half of a beat here. And then a quarter plus a quarter makes a half. And so there is our 1 crochet beat. And then here, if we divide, there's our crochet beat, we'll divide it into semiquavers, into quarters. We've got a half a beat with the quavers, sorry. And then half of that half is a quarter. And then that leaves us our final quarter. And we can see that is indeed 1 beat, a 3 quarters and a quarter. So 1 beat, 2 beats. Let's press on. So now we're counting 3 beats in a bar. And again, the easy way to do that would be to start at the end. We've got a full bar at the end. So that's 2 beats. That's 1 beat. 2 plus 1 is 3. There's our bar line. But let's be extra thorough. We know where we worked out previously that there are 4 semiquavers in a crochet. Or alternatively, you can visualize it a hole divides into 4 quarter beats. So we know that that's 1 beat, and that's why it's all beamed together. There's beat 1. Half plus a half gives us another beat, and there's a beat 1, 2, 3. And let's finally move on to this final one, 4 beats in a bar. Now a minim is worth 2 beats. A dot is half as much again, which is 1. Half of 2 is 1. So that's 3 beats altogether. And there's another beat. There's our 4th. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's our bar line. And so we could just presume that this is correct, but let's double check it. We have a 2 beat note here. The crotchet is worth 1 beat. A dot is half as much again. Half of 1 is half, so that's worth 1.5. That's worth half of a beat. So together the dot and the quaver give us our final beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we know that that's correct. Let's move on to section 3 of this rhythm section. Now we're asked to tick one box to answer each question. How many minims are there in a semi-breve? Well, let's think about this. We've already done this work previously, but let's just refresh our mind. A semi-breve is 4 beats, and it divides into 2 minims, because 2 plus 2 is 4, and therefore we can see quite easily that 2 minims in one semi-breve. Of course, you could just do this the mathematical way. We know that there are 4 beats in a semi-breve, and there are 2 beats in a minim. So how many times does 2 divide into 4? 2 times 2 is 4. And so that could also give us the answer if you prefer the mathematical approach. Either way, the answer is 2. How many semiquavers are there in a dotted crotchet? So this one I would prefer to diagram out. So a dotted crotchet, let's just diagram this out. So there's a dotted crotchet. So first of all, let's think how many quavers there are. So there are 2 quavers in a crotchet, and then half as much again is another quaver. Or you could think, well, there's 1.5 beats, and so there are 3 halves in 1.5. And now we need to know how many semiquavers, and each quaver divides into 2. So we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 semiquavers in that same time period, 6. Now we need to show which bar is grouped correctly. And if you remember when we discussed beaming, we need to beam groups of quavers and semiquavers to show where each crotchet beat falls. So we need to show exactly where each crotchet beat falls. We should have 2 crotchet beats and we should see 2 groups. So a half plus a half is 1. There's our first beat. And then 4 quarters makes a whole. There's our second, and they are grouped correctly. So straight away, there's our answer. However, let's just look at these as a revision opportunity, and let's see why these are wrong. So there is our first crotchet beat. A half plus a half is 1. But then that's half a beat, that's half a beat. They should be grouped together, and instead they're grouped in halves, not in crotchet beats. They're grouped in quaver beats. So that is incorrect. And this final one, is our first beat, quaver, quaver. They should be together. That shouldn't be joined. And then these 4 semiquavers, 4 quarters makes a whole, they should be joined together. And so that is incorrect. And you can see at a glance how this is so much easier to read. We can see beat 1, beat 2. For a performer, that would be so difficult to read because you just can't find where beat 1 and beat 2 begin. And that's why we must be careful to group things correctly to show the performer exactly where each new beat falls. Let's turn over the page, and we're going to finish this section on rhythm. So now we need to tick or cross in each bar whether each bar has the rests correctly grouped or placed, as it were? Is it the appropriate rest? And remember, every new beat requires a new rest. Just as the same rule of beaming, we need to show where each new beat starts with the beams, the same principle applies to show where each new beat starts for a rest. And so we should see 3 clear crotchet beats. So there's beat 1. That's a quaver rest, so half plus a half is beat 2. There's beat 3. That is correct. Here's beat 1. And then we have 4 semiquavers. So 1, 2, 3, that rest completes the group. And then there's beat 3. So that is also correct. Let's see this bar. So there are no rests there, so there's nothing to comment. Now that is not correct. It looks like it might be because there are 3 beats, a dotted minim rest. However, we don't use that. When it's a full bar's rest, regardless of whatever the time signature is, we always use a semi-breve rest, which technically is a 4-beat rest. So officially that's too big for this time signature, but it's always accepted as a complete bar's rest, no matter what the time signature. Quick glance, no need to bother with all of this counting, just silence for the complete bar. So that's not correct. Let's look at this final example. So we need to tick one box which shows the 4 notes which are written in the correct order, longest to shortest. So let's just, I think visually you can tell, but let's squeeze every drop of revision out of this. We have a 4-beat note, so each time we begin with the long note. However, straight away we've got a quarter of a beat followed by a 1-beat. So we're already out of order. Then we get a 2-beat, it's all out of sync, so that's no good. We have a 4-beat, then we have a 1-beat, but then the 2-beat comes right at the end. So the quarter beat, it's all jumbled up there, so that's not correct. Here we have a 4-beat, a 2-beat, a 1-beat, a quarter beat. Everything's descending. That's correct. And that's the end of the first section of the practice exam paper. I hope this is helpful to your studies. Please do like and subscribe to stay updated. If you'd like to support this channel, you can buy me a coffee, and for advert-free lessons you can become a patron. Do visit my website where you'll find many resources available to help you. Visit sharonbill.com. Thanks for watching. Bye.